Hello everyone, thanks for watching Faribault Community Television. Today we had to stop at City Hall because we haven't been here for a while and talk to the mayor, Jasinski, as we get ready for a lot of things happening this fall time, what's happened this summertime, and let's just get a city update about streets, roads, anything we want to talk about. John, good to see you.
We got lots of stuff happening, so I don't know where you want to start, but there's lots of things happening in the city of Faribault, that's for sure.
Well, let's talk about Sage. Sage was there's a nice article in the Minneapolis paper yesterday about Sage glass, and this is going to be a big thing.
It is going to be a big thing.
We've got.
It has been a big thing.
It's been a big thing, but it's going to be bigger. They're going to be employing maybe 120, maybe 150 more people at Sage.
Yep. Yeah. Original counts were 160, and they've done that way higher now. So that's great. Again, I've always said Sage is like an industrial billboard for Faribault development. It's right next to the interstate. It's a beautiful looking building. Really shows what Faribault can put together for industrial development in town. So I'm very proud of Sage being here. I think it's a great facility, great jobs. It's wonderful for Faribault.
You look at that part of town, and North End was kind of quiet for maybe a long time, and you've got Aldi's out there with a huge warehouse. I'm not sure how many people are employed out there. You got the power plant out there, and now Sage was big, but now it's humongous. I've never been in the building, but it's a couple football fields. I don't know,
yes,
probably bigger.
Very big, absolutely.
So North End has expanded and grown and add employment to Faribault, and that's all a good thing. So,
and once you create that momentum of exciting things happening, people start talking, they see it. We're already getting other inquiries for other types of businesses involved and suppliers and things like that. So once that momentum ball rolls, it's just going to take off. And this is all happening in a down economy. Right. So we should be pretty proud of what's happening in Faribault here in a down economy. And the economy will come around. And with this, this momentum going, we're just set to succeed in Faribault. And I think with our location on Faribault, on 35, Faribault's going to do well in the future. There's no doubt.
Maybe give a little credit, or maybe a lot of credit, to Peter Waldock, EDA, as far as finding these places and finding these people that want to move and come to Faribault.
Well, and obviously, I like to say how good our staff does, and we do a good job. But it's really a team effort. This is the chamber people, this is the council, this is the EDA, this is Rice County with Deanna Kennan. It's a team event to get these people here, and we work on it together as a team, and that's what we need to be proud of.
Well, team, let's talk about the Willow Mills then, because it's been just a year now. They've been up and running a year. It was a year the governor was here and did the ribbon cutting, and so that's another success. So
I think people get sick of me talking about the Willow Mills because everybody knows I'm such a fan. But yeah, it's September 15th was their 1-year anniversary, just this Saturday. Great things. They're working on a big order for JCPenney's. They had extra people working all weekend to get labels made to get their order out. That's gone. Truly, we couldn't imagine how good that would have turned out for Faribault. I think it's just a fabulous thing for Faribault. I'm very proud of what we've done to get that company up and operating in the state of Minnesota and in the United States, and just the publicity they've done nationwide and worldwide for really what represents is in Faribault here and not only Faribault, Minnesota, and the United States. So that's one of my favorite things that's happened in the last 3.5 years, no doubt, that seeing that succeed.
Yep. Talking to Chuck and Paul Moody when I first started, I think they were at 32 employees, and I don't know what they are now, but they're probably...
Last week it was 88, I think, so yeah, okay. They're right on track, and I think they're looking at the possibilities of a third shift, so yeah, they're doing very well. So
they are very good promoters, and the Faribault Willow Mills name is not just... It just isn't Faribault, but it's worldwide. That's a nationally known company.
Absolutely, and again, I think they've hit every major network. They've hit, the History Channel. They've, everything that's been out there. They've been on, so they're very well connected, and people see what's going on there, and a lot of national attention, which is good for Faribault.
Well, let's talk about other construction areas. What's been happening around the city? You deal with construction updates, upgrades, roads, streets.
The big project this last year was the Highway 321 intersection. Obviously, that got finished up, and just on Saturday, I missed the opening of the trail, but they opened the trail, the ribbon cutting on the trail there. That was a big road construction project. We have County Road 45 45 that was done south of town for the school year. That was done kind of as a carryover project from last year was done. That was a beautiful looking project. Now, if you drive down there, I don't know if you've been up and down there, but it looks beautiful. A nice green grass and sidewalks, and it's a nice, safe looking street. Then the counties had their project, County Road 11, which has been, some people have been a little irritated on the time frame of that because it's a long detour around that. On the south end, there's quite a few different detours you can get around, but that County Road 11 there in front of Lacans, which was a county project, but it's made some big detours. So
I'm going to say, it should say where is 11, because not everybody knows where 11 is.
County Road 11 in front of Lacans.
Yep.
Yes, yep.
McCann's Marine
Boulevard, I believe, is the other name for it. But that was, finally that's final now, and that's open again, so that's good. But that, like I said, that detour distance was, quite cumbersome, so that was nice to get that done. And I think those are really the two or three big projects we did for street projects this year.
I think the one out in 21, which you mentioned about the country club out by in that area by Grant Stay, is the most visible one, because that's thousands of cars a day probably that go by that area. I think people are liking it, especially the ones coming off 3, saying it's kind of a dangerous, or has been dangerous crossing, but now it's very easy. Yeah,
that old T intersection as you were heading west on 3 was difficult, and a lot of times, certain times of the day, it was tough to get across that. Now with full intersection there, it's much better, much safer. We have the trail underpasses there, which opens up some trail access to the swimming pool and to the western side of the development by the country club there, which is nice. So we've got a lot of positive things said about that intersection. So that's nice to have that done. And that street, or that has the highest traffic counts in the city of Faribault, except for the interstate. That's 18,000 vehicles per day that go by that road. Wow. That's the highest traffic counts in Faribault. That's why we looked at all the underpass and those things in the intersection. So,
you touched on the trails. We talked about last Saturday. We're doing this about the middle of September. Trail system continues to grow in Faribault, and people like the bike trails, walking trails, and with the new amenities, it's just been a big thing that Faribault's been known for, I think. So
it is known. There's been a little discussion of, should we be spending that much on trails and the maintenance and the upkeep? So there is a concern of, to get the grants and to bring the trails in is one thing, but then to maintain those trails afterward is another issue. So the council looks at all those issues and decides, what the best thing to do is. But I think with that intersection, with those traffic counts we talked about and the amount of federal funding we got for that intersection, it was the smart thing to do. In the future with trails, you have to look at every project and see where they make sense and where they don't make sense. And with the current budgets, where we're at, you really have to take a second look at where you're spending your money wisely. And again, looking at the long term, what's it going to cost to maintain that trail? Cicada, the state trail, just did a major renovation and upgrade. And there's a lot of cost to those things, so you do have to look at both sides. But it is a positive thing for the community, so there's no doubt about that. But again, really need to look at both sides, the construction and then what the long-term maintenance is going to be.
Well, you mentioned the word budget, so let's bring it up. Let's talk about budget. It's a difficult thing every year. Do we don't want to raise taxes, or do we keep taxes the same for the community? And how do we get the same services to the people? How do we take care of these roads? How do we take care of fire, police, and everything else? And still do it without raising anything. And is the budget done? Where are we at?
It's not done. We've set our preliminary levy at 3%. We can always lower that, so we hope to lower that down a little bit, but we can't raise it. So we've set the preliminary, at 3%. And that's where it's at. Everybody wants more services, but they don't want their tax dollars raised, so that's common for everybody. We've done a couple good years of really cutting back, and we did a year of 0% increase. And this year's 0% expenditures on everything but employment, so the contract. So we're not trying to increase anything this year, so we're trying to keep those down. But we do, we've had employees that have been here on their 3rd year of no increases for cost of living. So that's difficult on our employees, just as you and I for our jobs. Not seeing those, it's important. So we've budgeted a little bit there for that because we think we need to do that. But yeah, we're trying to keep things down. But people always they've gotten spoiled, I think, is the main thing. They've gotten spoiled with those services, and when you start taking those away, then they start to react to that. So, and we want our streets safe. We want, in case you have a fire, we want the fire department standing by. So all those things that people want.
You got to plow the snow in front of my driveway.
You got to plow the snow, exactly. But some of the little things, you talk about reducing a police officer or looking at things like that, and you don't get a huge, public pushback. But we last year, or 2 years ago, I should say, we decreased the hours of the fitness center at the community services. And we had more people come in about a half an hour difference than we did about some of the larger things. So it hits people differently of what affects them.
It directly affects them, right?
Correct.
Exactly right.
And if it doesn't directly affect you, sometimes you don't hear things. Right. We've also had the budget hearings. We don't have anybody come in. We have budget hearings from, I think we start in April or May, and we go all the way through